this Gazzers Lambretta journey. Before we get started on my little documentary on my latest project, my GP150, why am I bringing a picture up of this, you may ask, or not ask? Well, to the left would have been a field, and I remember when I was 15 years old, Gary Harper and Craig Springfield had this Lambretta. I didn't know it was a Lambretta at the time, but it just looked very strange with a step through the middle. That stuck in my mind. Now let's wind forward another year. Here I am with my little leather jacket on, and I had an AP50 Suzuki. Well, I come from a biker's town, and we had the Outcasts, one of the notorious gangs that there was. The BBC even did a docu on them. Now, I was a budding young moped lad, and I just bought myself an RD250. Now, the RD250 I had on the road for about 2 months, and it was 800 quid. I remember getting it from Peter Smith's. But by then I was wearing a Harrington, I was wearing Fred Perry, stay pressed trousers, white socks, and my loafer shoes. Now, this was one Friday night, we were walking, and I say we, that was with Phil Knights, Andrew Snell and John Sharman. John Sharman being the important one in this particular piece, because we are walking along the road in Alton Broad. Here we are. Let's zoom to this picture here, and this is the exact spot that I saw Jamie Hunt come past on his blue scooter, which was, I believe, an LI 150 special. And I said to John Sharman, "Oh my God, what's that?" And it had such a lovely sound. And he said, "That's Jamie Hunt from school, of course, from Kirkley High." And I said, "I want one." And he said, "Well, you've got an RD250, a nice new shiny one." I went, "I want one. What the hell?" And he said, "Luck would have it, I've just bought myself an SX150 out of this old guy's garden, and he's got another one, an LI 150 special with a 175 barrel kit on it." So I went along with my mum in her Mazda car. I picked it up, FA Cup Day, May 1980. Me and Andrew Snell down the lane, banging it around, trying to bump start it, no exhaust, and then suddenly it fired into life down Clark's Lane. And that was the beginning of my life with a Lambretta, and I blame it all on bloody Jamie Hunt. So let's start my little memory lane and my little docu with my latest project, my Lambretta GP150. My love of a Lambretta since I was realistically 16. So this is my latest project, and this has been hiding. That's not the engine, they're not the forks. Hiding in a secret location of mine. And switch the light on, shall we? Nope, not that one. Bless her, she'll come out soon. It's this. Been hiding in here now for nearly a year. It's a GP150 match and frame and engine from the factory back in the day. I believe it's a 69, and I am now going to start my journey in rebuilding her, and then we're going to take a trip all around New Zealand on her at some point. Right, so the journey begins with the rebuild. What we got to do first, we've got to clean it, eh? That's it, that's good. So soak it all down. Soap it all down and get the scooter all nice and clean. So I've got some references to my past when I was a teenager. That's me with my tongue hanging out. If we look here, this isn't unlike the garage I had at my mum and stepfather's, and I superimpose that over the top. There's my old garage. Look at all them engines. And this isn't unsimilar, apart from I ain't got a bar. And I didn't work, I worked on the floor then. I'm not working on the floor now. Now, I do have all the gear, but it's at my mate's lock-up. And I'm in a hurry to want to have a play with this. So this is why we've got this set up. But it's still a slight improvement from the 1980s, or from 1980. If you look here, that tin that was all my tools. I was 18 there when I customised that. Same scooter before, so I've got a few references, and that was my first scooter. Obviously I don't have an original photograph of it before I...
Let's pause right there. The first thing I ever chrome plated was that toolbox, and then it went out of control. Oh!
Stored it, and that was the scooter before I sold it. I bought it for 25 quid. I was an electro chrome plater metal polisher. That's how it ended up. And basically I sold it for 200 quid. Put some money together, 600 quid for a brand spank new one. You can see it already had some bling to it, and that's how it ended up. And then had a full summer with that, and then I sold it. So anyway, this is going to be my journey right here. We've got a few references, you know.
If your engine isn't starting on cue, put in a fresh set of Champion spark plugs at least once a year.
Champion, they were the main two back in the day. SO, motor oil from the pump. So it's all been cleaned, as you saw with the boys. I didn't mention obviously my toolbox. I forgot to mention my toolbox when it comes to now. This is my toolkit right now. This literally is my toolkit. Had to borrow that off a mate, Duncan. I had to buy some spanners, 12 bucks. Got a few little polishing things. I've got my electric drill to clean a few bits up, and that's it. So it's pretty well much not unlike the old days with my old tin of bits and pieces, you know. It's it brings back a lot of memories, and I've done a lot, but not like this, in a garage like this, in a long time. So now I've just started on the wiring loom. Now I know roughly what to do, but I thought I'd go through the manual, and I forgot. We had manuals back then. We didn't have the internet or nothing. All I had was this. Now, believe it or not, I got given this with the scooter, this scooter, in 1980, and I still have it to this day, and it's still got the electric tape on it as well. And then in the early 90s, when I was getting into scootering again after a little lapse, I got this one, and then upon opening it, it's exactly the same reprint as my one from 1980 that actually is a 1960s one. Now, why am I mentioning all this? Because like everyone knows, anyone that's anybody that's got a Lambretta that works from home would have stickies, a manual. And here we are. Just I had a look at the forks because I've got a new set of extensions and stuff for the fork extensions, you know what I mean, for the forks here. And yeah, so how times has changed, eh? It did, it didn't, and now it's changed massively. And if you remember, sometimes in the glove box when you got a second-hand scooter at someone's garage, if you're lucky enough to get the home manual, you know what I mean? Yeah, the old manuals. And I'm so lucky that I've got my original one. In the next, here it is, and in this memory, I'll just show you Horners. Now, in 1980, my Lambretta packed a Saddie and it nipped up. My fault, still brand new at the game, not enough oil in the petrol. And I rang these guys up who are still, I don't know if they're still going now. Anyway, I rang these guys up and I said, look, I've got a 175 LI 150 special. So it's a 175 barrel and piston, and it's one oversized, blah, blah, blah. So the family member down the road, he came and measured it, who's considerably older than me at the age of 17. And he says, you're the luckiest man in England today with a Lambretta. I have your exact size on a shelf covered in dust. And he sent it to me in the original little cardboard box covered in the dust and the rubbish, and he said it had been sitting there since the late 60s. Now, for someone in the late 60s and in 1980, doesn't sound actually that long today, but then that was when I was that age. That was way up there. So yeah, so this little manual saved me back then. And I just had a thought walking back down here back in the day, and I got a photograph at my mum and dad's with the scooters down the drive. So there's my lonely old scooter. Times again have changed, haven't they? The scooters and everything have changed. But I remember in that corner, not that I've got a photograph, but we can bring up a photograph again in a minute. In that corner, I would have Phil's scooter in bits. Normally, he's got an SX 200, blue and white one. And then I'd have something else at the back of the room. I'd have the Jam, obviously, printed on the wall. My scooter in bits or someone else's scooter in bits. I remember once having Dave Martin's scooter in a corner. The fastest scooter I'd ever ridden between 1980 and 1984. It was just the dog's bollocks, but it nipped up on the corner of my road and it sat there for 6 months. It's indifferent. It's not indifferent. So now I was looking at that and I realised when I was starting to put the cables on, I've just loosely put this on, so now I've put the cables in, they're roughly where I need them to be, and I realised back in the day, didn't we do this, guys? We just reused them the best way we did. There was no going to the local shop and buying cables, you just reused everything, literally. So I've got all new cables everywhere. So I've been going through Sticky's book and looking where the cables should actually be. But we literally reused everything, didn't we? So now we've got it all set and it's all ready to go. I thought I'd just look at this photograph and just go through the memory lane with this one. Now with this one, there I am on the far right. That's most probably the earliest photograph of me on a scooter. Then there's Phil Knights and Gumby, Graham Gumby, and then Mark Gooch. I'm just going to have a quick talk about poor old Mark Gooch. So he had a Vespa, small frame, I think it was a 125, I think it might even be a 90. And we're going down he was going down the A12 one day, and literally some Hell's Angels pulled him over. One pulled out a shotgun. True story, we used to get all this all the time. And basically what happened was they started playing with him. He ran off into the cornfield. And when he came back, he thought his scooter would be trashed, and he said nope, they just left it where it was, but he thought it'd be munted, and he said, you know, just these guys just having a play with him. But he said he was shit scared, and he got out scootering. He left. He said he couldn't deal with the aggro that we all used to get back in 1980, 81, 82 and 83. So anyway, here we are in the bar. So that's the end of part one of my story. I will just quickly mention this. So this is the original poster out of my bedroom from 1980-81, and here I am there, and I find it quite cool that you get my meaning. I've still got stuff from then. I should be doing that, shouldn't I? And that's my original poster. I'll talk another day about when we went to see Madness at the Pictures to see that film. But yeah, so there's me. I would have been 18 there. And that t-shirt, if you look very, very closely, had a very small picture of Prince Charles. Says, ones must not appear on a t-shirt, because back then you couldn't have the royal family on t-shirts. So it was just the top of his head and his luggles. And I still got some of them posters I might dig out at some point. But yeah, there's that one. So that's end of part one of my journey and going through memories. Part two, I will have a quick talk about this.